One, two, okay. So let's make a start. Um, this is a room for Apops 1. So if you want to attend another session, you're in a different room. Apops, the operational technical talks. Yes. So Apops is a technical session during Apricot. Usually we have this kind of the Apops 1 and the Apops 2 during this week. And mostly it's a technical and operational talk. So this is a session for engineers. And also you're welcome if you're still sales or marketing. It's a good catch up for the industry, what's going on in this industry. So we have 3 talks in this Apops 1. First up is Jeff Houston. Make it easy. Thank you. So you're going to use that one, right?
Thanks everyone, good afternoon. My name's Jeff Houston. I'm the Chief Scientist at APNIC. And if someone could close the doors at the back, that'd be really cool. Otherwise I'll just talk louder, so what the hell. So what I want to talk about this afternoon is kind of where are we and why? What does the network actually look like? And why does it feel in operations that you're just fiddling in the dark? Because all the lights have gone off. What's going on? You see, networks, if you go back into the telephony world, had this remarkably privileged position that you might be talking to someone else, but if the telephone operator was to tap the wire, they could hear the conversation. They know who was talking to whom and what they were saying. And networks have always enjoyed that kind of trust in communication, that what was happening end to end is being shared with the network in the middle. Now, users had a different expectation, oddly enough. The secrets we imparted to each other over the telephone were still secrets, and quite frankly, the telephone operator wasn't meant to, broadcast it on television, radio, whatever. So the way this was kind of enforced, saying, users, you have a right, was actually through regulatory measures. In almost every country, employees of the telephone system had to sign amazing undertakings that, everything they learned from the network was a secret, and if they ever disclosed, then it was jail time. And so these various forms were there to enforce trust. That you trusted the network not because the communication was encrypted, it wasn't, but because the operators of the network behaved themselves, and if they didn't, they'd get hit around the head with a big stick. Now, things have changed radically, because as we deregulated, we changed the model of revenue. That all of a sudden, you didn't pay for a service, the service is free. You don't pay for Google search. You don't pay to have all these CPU cycles work for you for a billionth of a second to compute some crazy answer for your query. You don't pay for AI. You don't pay for Google Docs, except you do. And the way this is working is these systems are being funded by collecting that information, notionally in the network, but it's at the application level, to actually assemble the revenue necessary to fund this. So you're the product. And in essence, what's going on now is that all these things are funded through advertising revenue. So what do they know? They know more about you than you do. They really, really do. And like, it's not just age, dress, location, gender, educational level. Probably by comparing your profile with those of your peers, and they know who they are too, they actually know what's going to happen to you, statistically speaking, as much as your peers. They know an awful lot about you and your purchase history and your desires. Because of the chief economist of Google once said, spam is only annoying because we don't know enough about you. If we knew enough, it would be a friendly, timely, helpful hint. Oh yeah, thanks. I hadn't thought of that. That's really cool. And that's the aim of this entire exercise. The better the profile, the more I know you. The more I know you, the more I can influence how you spend your money in ways that I wish to influence. So we unleashed a sort of a new version of the erosion of trust. And oddly enough, you happily gave trust away to get free services. But then, there's always a but, a number of agencies whose business was looking at you, things like the NSA, looked at Google and said, God, they have more data than we could ever assemble, or can we? Or can we? And decided that this was a paradigm, a model to be emulated. And so when this leaked with the Snowden papers, that particularly the NSA, which was a large-scale, massive data collection exercise across the entire scope of the internet in the US, then it was a kind of a watershed moment. Now, agencies going feral happens, I wouldn't say all the time, but it certainly happens with annoying frequency. So this wasn't the first time that agencies have been kind of exceeding the mission, and it probably won't be the last, of course. But this large-scale state-sponsored surveillance does go on. And what it really does is erode trust. So how do we react? Now, we is a funny word here because I'm personalising the Internet Engineering Task Force. I'm not sure that the populace shared that view, but the IETF was certainly a product of a generation of, well, let's be frank, boomers with slightly leftward leaning. You can tell us by our grey hair. And we reacted close to hysterically that this massive erosion of trust was an attack on the privacy of the internet's users and organisations. And so this was, 7258, that RFC, that actually said, we are going to design protocols to stop it. We, the Internet Engineering Group, not vendors, not, anyone else, but we, the community of engineers, which was a remarkable moment. And in essence, what that meant was that everything started to be hidden with a phenomenal amount of effort. That ethos pervaded product very, very quickly. If you're using the Chrome browser and you try and go to a site that doesn't use TLS, HTTPS, big warnings. This is not normally done. You are being really, really stupid. This site is insane. Do not go there. Do you really, really, really wish to go there? And probably in a year or two, there won't even be a warning. You just won't be able to go there. Cool. So all of a sudden, TLS is everywhere. Then you kind of get this issue of, how do I know it's you? What do we need to do to establish trust as well as encryption? And so TLS and the domain name certificate business started to really take off. And so now we get to the point where everything is authenticated in the web and everything is encrypted. Everything is encrypted using session keys. It's hard to see what you're saying. How much? This is from Cloudflare's radar. I've forgotten when, it's very recent, late last year I think. 98.3% of what they see in Cloudflare is HTTPS. A mere 1.7% are folk who have clicked through going, oh, just take me there, just really take me there. I'll be open. So in essence, the web is now completely dark. What about the DNS? Because if there is a protocol that tells other people exactly what you are about to do in real time, in astonishing detail, it is the DNS. Because everything starts with a call to the DNS. So if you don't want to signal in the clear to folk you've never seen before who are quietly listening to your queries, you need to think about how to hide it. And so we did. We thought very, very hard about how to hide it. So, DNS over UDP in the clear? oh God, that's so 1980s. Let's change it. Let's put the DNS over the same protocol used by the web. Let's use TLS, DNS over TLS. And if your phone is an Android phone, you can actually turn this on now if you find a suitable DNS over TLS server. Dot. You know, well, we can do this better, can't we? Let's go sexy. Let's go to Quick, because Quick is cool. Quick is kind of the new version of TCP. We'll talk about it later, but let's put the DNS over that. Again, completely opaque. It's encrypted like crazy. And then it's kind of, well, what the hell, we're already 90% there. Let's just shove it over HTTPS. HTTPS 2 or even HTTPS 3, because we're very hip. So all of a sudden the DNS is sitting behind, or can sit behind, massive layers of encryption. Bits are there, bits are not. Here's a view from Cloudflare's recursive resolver 1.1.1.1. The blue line at the top, which is hovering around 75%, is the traffic they see coming in over UDP. Fine, it's taking some time. The green, at 10%, is the traffic they see encrypted coming in over HTTPS, and the yellow, orange, whatever it is, the next line down, about 8%, is coming in over TLS. Little by little, it is making an impression. It's not a vertical rise, it's certainly not that, but slowly and surely, this stuff is actually invading the DNS. Can we go further? Can we ever? Because we can now start actually obscuring the endpoints from each other. If any of you have turned on Apple Private Data Relay, you've turned on an amazing tool, because we're using obfuscation here such that no party in the network knows both who I am and where I'm going to. They might know one, but not the other. Nobody in the network knows. So there's no information the network can leak because it ain't there in the first place. So this is being used in both the DNS and in the web. And the Apple Private Data Relay product is the first of these examples. How much of it? Not a lot. And certain regimes have come to deals with Apple that stop it, like I got a little pop-up on my Mac, I don't know if you did, going, Apple Private Data Relay is not available in your network here and now. But in so many other places it is. And this level of hiding and encryption is almost absolute. Not quite, but almost. So what's the big peephole? Well, it's actually inside TLS. Because there's one part, just as you're trying to bring up a session, where you, the client, have to say to it, the server, I'm going to www.apnic.net. And because you haven't got encryption running, that little string can be found in the packet as text, clear text. And so the entire spying industry is now fixated on that one field that leaks enough. I don't know what you're going to say, but I know whom you're talking to. And so that's the last part of the puzzle to seal this up, to encrypt that piece of information. And interestingly, while the first amount of work in the IETF was lightning fast and took a whole bunch of folk whose profession it was to look at your traffic by surprise, this one, oddly enough, seems to be stuck in the glue. Whose glue? I'll leave you to conjecture. But it's sitting there in the standards group going, oh yes, okay, we'll get round to it eventually. Because we have what the answers are. The answer is the DNS. The answer is putting keys in the DNS. The answer is using new resource records, service B records, to actually put encryption keys in the DNS, retrieve them using encrypted DNS, retrieve the SNI encryption key, and then go for it. And if you're doing that, you might as well do the whole dance, get rid of Let's Encrypt, get rid of the whole web PKI, astonishing, stinking mess of insecurity, and actually replace it with a real security system based around putting keys into the DNS itself. Dane, end of advertisement. If you want to wait forever, you can wait. If you want to use a strange hack, Cloudflare have one for you that will encrypt the SNI as long as you trust Cloudflare. Which is kind of weird, but you know, as long as I trust one of them, I'll be safe from everyone else. Okay. Certificates, what a mess. Here's a certificate. It's the wrong one. Oh, you can always revoke it. Yeah, right, you can't. Because even with the online certificate status protocol, it says, is this certificate real or junk? You're telling the CA, the certificate issuer, when you say, is this certificate real? You've just told them where you're going and who you are. So even if you get the answer no, you've kind of divulged everything you didn't want to divulge. When I look at Chrome and I send people to a site that has a revoked certificate, Chrome goes, not a problem. I don't care about no revocation nonsense. It's kind of the lesser of evils. I'd rather send you to a bad place than divulge and disclose everything. So, some of this stuff doesn't work all that well. So why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Does Apple really care about me? Or you? Or our privacy? No, they don't. Privacy is dead. It's gone. And users have happily given that up for free search, free email, free Google Docs. Users happily disclose their entire life, their future, their needs, their everything in exchange for free search, free chat GPT. So this is not about you and I. That's rubbish. They don't care. What do they care about? Who is this privacy all about? This is a list of the largest companies publicly traded in the world and their market capitalisation. It used to be filled with oil companies. Visa Card, MasterCard were up there. Chemical companies, actually there's one still there, Eli Lilly. And no doubt soon Novo Nordisk will be there as well. But look at the top 7. Apple, Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon, Nvidia, Meta. They're the richest companies on the planet today. The richest. So what's the issue about privacy and them? Well, it's actually all about surveillance capitalism. If Meta have spent a lot of money assembling a profile about me, who don't they want to share that with? Well, that's easy. Google, Facebook, sorry, it is Facebook, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, every other members of the surveillance capitalism cartel. Meta are trying to protect their data about me from the others. So if you're running Facebook in a hostile environment, i.e. an iPhone, then you have to protect that application and leak nothing. Because I've spent all this effort assembling that profile, the last thing I want is for one of the other surveillance operators, Google, to look over their shoulder and steal it off them. So this is a strange set of economics that are going on. Who cares about privacy? Well, none of them care about my privacy, but they care an awful lot about the core asset of their company. Google's core asset is your profile and my profile and the profile of about 5 billion other people. So they want to protect that from other services. They want to protect that from the platform, the handset, because, that's hostile. They want to protect it from the network completely. So that's what we're going to. A world where the application is now working in what it conceives as a remarkably hostile and toxic environment. So how do you protect the application from the computer, the platform in which it's running? How do you do that? Well, you lift everything the kernel used to do and lift it into the application. TCP? No. That's in the kernel. Not going to do that. I'm going to move the transport all the way up. So I'm not trying to define a new version of Protocol 6. I'm going to move it by actually going over to UDP, Protocol 17, and simply going, let's encrypt absolutely everything else. And so all of a sudden, we have QUIC, the new TCP, the TCP that looks to the network like UDP, and everything, I think except one bit really, everything is completely encrypted. There's nothing left to see. It's an evolution that pushes the functions up into user space. The platform is now, and the operating system, a mere scheduling thing. QUIC is much more agile than TCP. It does a whole bunch of things that TCP could never do, and it has taken the world by storm. I don't know if you know what you're doing, but your computer, about a third of the traffic that Cloudflare see is running QUIC. a presentation that I did some time ago about looking at Quick found that about 70% of the world now is able to run Quick in their browsers. 70%. Everywhere except China. Everywhere. Oddly enough, the two laggards, three actually, is Canada, the United States, and Australia. I've no idea why, you know. All this mania about filtering UDP on 443, they're all insane. Just let it go, like everyone else. A presentation from Cisco last year looking at Cisco's numbers from their view. YouTube, predominantly Quick. Instagram, Quick. Facebook, Quick. It's all Quick. So all of a sudden, a huge amount of the volume on the network is now running completely encrypted. It's faster, we love it. It encrypts everything, so it seals it off against other people, other applications, other services, and it's something that happens in the user stack, not at the network level. Applications do this. This is an application-centric world. TCP, forget it, it's over. Quick does everything you need and resists that degree of sort of data leakage, so it's gone. TCP isn't there. But there's something more fundamental, and it's the shift of money. Because it used to be that the giants of this industry ran networks. Networks were things that made it happen. They were the enablers of content. Cisco was big because it sold into network operators. Network operators believe they have power because they run the network. This is crap. This is old stuff. This is irrelevant. The network business is now pretty much the sewerage business because it's been commoditized. It doesn't matter anymore. All this stuff about quality of service is the bleatings of a dying industry, and any form of source routing, MPLS, tagging, quality of service engineering and so on is merely, as I said, the dying throes of an industry that won't accept the fact that it's down in the commodity sewerage business. Because the money is where the Wikipedia money is, into the top 10 companies by public volume. None of those companies are carriage providers. They're all application people or service applications. So the money is at the application level. And therefore all the effectively investment and force of development is happening at the upper level. So now hosts, applications and networks have a deep and abiding suspicion, distrust, verging on hatred of each other. The application defends its integrity by saying there is nothing to see. Once that packet leaves my space in the application world, on its trip to my server at the other end, no one can see anything. Quick and the rated protocol, protocol family mask, is an intrinsic part of that kind of wrapping it up. And for the network operator, those bits make no meaning. It's all just UDP. Well, what form of UDP? UDP. Well, what is it doing? I don't know. All the packets seem to be 1200 octets. Are there little packets? Maybe not. Is it being padded? I don't know. Well, can I do a sort of get all the BitTorrent traffic or the bad traffic and discriminate against it? Well, no. All of a sudden, the network is not a party to this. And I suspect that path that hides and commoditizes the network is now irreversible. It's a one-way path. There's no coming back. So what do you do when you see nothing? When everything is black? What about traffic shaping? Yeah, right. What about traffic shaping? What about your regulatory requirements to tap traffic? I know Australia has it. Oh, sure, have some encrypted traffic. It's really cool. I've no idea what it is, and neither do you. Have my DNS logs. Oh, they all seem to be encrypted. Can you decrypt them? No, I don't have the key. It's all abusified DNS. I have no idea what's going on. All this load balancing, ECMP, and all this middleware in the network, I'm sorry, you're dealing with dark traffic. It doesn't work anymore. It's all black. So we're living something that one of the original financial backers of Peter Thiel said in, I think it was a Wall Street Journal article, in a moment of weakness. Competition is for losers. Competition is for losers. What you can't dominate, buy, aggregate, and completely control, you commoditize. You actually just make it so sort of valueless that the job is worthless. Vertically integrated service providers, the telcos of old, they're finished. The deregulated competitive service industry, it's specialised rather than generalised. The applications are now not general purpose browsers, it's actually the Facebook ecosystem. You know, it's the Instagram ecosystem, it's the web app ecosystem, and they actively protect folk from masquerading. This is Skype on steroids. All of a sudden they're protecting themselves against interlopers. And carriage and network operation, I'm sorry, it's a bit like feeding the horses. It's over. Because instead, we're living in a world of abundance. Abundant computing, abundant storage, abundance. And so I don't need to haul your traffic to my server in Seattle. I just take all this content that I was safeguarding in Seattle and put it downtown 3 blocks away for whatever city you're living in. The packet miles of delivered traffic to users is for most of the developed world shrinking to less than 100. All of a sudden the network's tiny. And as we all know, distance costs. And in fact, the square of the distance is the cost. As you elongate the distance, costs go up longer than linear. It's a square function. If you can bring the content to the user, I can go really fast, short loops. I've got very, very high bandwidth, it's just access lines. And if the traffic is all there pre-provisioned, because I've got storage, then all of a sudden it's a different network. What's the average AS path length of the internet? Well, it's 4 ASs, everyone knows that. What's the average AS path length of delivered traffic? Ooh, 1. The access network. That's it. The average length is now tiny. So control over the platform is no longer control over the user. Who cares if you've got an Android or an iPhone or anything else? It has no sway with applications. Operating systems like Windows no longer dominate anything. They're valueless. Every service defines its own environment. Defines its own environment. So what's the IETF's job? I don't know. Maybe they're the safeguards of TLS, and that's about it. Because every service now defines its own environment. This is the antithesis of interoperability. We've minimised and commoditised the common parts of what a network used to be. And this entire deregulated industry is now focused to maximising the exploitation of you and then protecting that asset by basically sealing up the network. Standards for interoperability, quaint but historic. Open, similarly, nothing is open. And the hyperscalers have won everything. What we do after this is your job. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Maybe we can take 1 or 2 questions.
My clock says 11 seconds, so, you know, be fast.
If not...
Cool, we're on time.
Oh yeah, you are. Thank you for the cooperation. Thank you very much again. So next up, we have Massimo from NTT. Or should I call Dr. Massimo? So he will speak about the BGP and the RPKI monitoring. So for years, and you have 30 minutes, and this is quicker.
Thank you very much.
The receiver is over there. So
perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's go with the presentation. Perfect. Okay, so first of all, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Massimo Candela. I'm a principal engineer at the global IP network of NTT. And finally, I'm here at Apricot talking about BGP and RPKI monitoring. I'm saying finally because actually I was requested to present this in February 2020, a part of it related to the BGP monitoring part. But then 1 week before meeting you, it was Melbourne, I think. One week before, I was like, no, COVID happened, you're not allowed to travel, okay. Then 2023, I was not able to join you, but now this is the year. So finally, we are going to talk about this. And well, since then, a lot of things, a lot of new things. There is the entire RPKI part monitoring added. And so let's start immediately. The first thing I want to talk in this presentation is about this tool called BGP Alerter. If I would have presented it at that time, it was going to be really new, like a prototype, basically. Now, instead, I'm happy to say that it's used in production by hundreds of operators, which makes me happy. It is a tool for BGP and RPKI monitoring that I developed at NTT, initially for our internal needs, but then we thought that it was a good idea to release it publicly, open source, and you see a link where you can go get the code in GitHub. It will alert you about hijacks, visibility loss, other sort of things about BGP configurations. It works in real time. It is easy to use also because it doesn't need any data collection because it uses public repository. And there is also a version of software as a service, which is not an NTT service, which is basically, you can find it at this link, packetvis.com, is essentially a BGP alerter with a UI, an API, and some extra features. So the reason why we decided to release it open source is because we realized that, especially at that time, there were not so many options for monitoring, and having an easy tool was going to increase the amount of operators that they were going to monitor. Also, as a tier one, but in general, as an internet operator, we were going to benefit from a more reliable internet, more monitored internet. When I talk about BGP monitoring, the first thing that I hear that people say is like, oh, hijacks, okay? Yeah, true, also that one. But there is the biggest part is actually just errors. So the thing that I want to say is that, yes, it is important to monitor if any other operator is hijacking your resource, but it's actually really more important to monitor your own operation, what your OS is doing, and basically create a feedback loop with your operations that, for example, is able to tell you if you're announcing something that you were not supposed to, or if you just deployed something and you have now a sudden loss of visibility or something like this. So if you're monitoring for the BGP monitoring part, this tool will tell you about if your prefixes lose visibility, if they get hijacked, if you're announcing a new prefix, if you have a new downstream or upstream AS that just appears in an AS path, or if any condition you want to express on a AS path. If you're monitoring for the RPKI part, basically you will get like, is your autonomous system announcing RPKI invalids? Are all your prefixes covered or not by ROAS? This is optional alerting. Well, all of them are optional actually. But is any of the ROAS involving your OS or your prefix being subject to any change? So you will receive diffs. This is actually pretty useful to have a feedback loop about, oh, I changed this ROA, now it's visible. Trust uncle malfunctions, and we will have a part at the end quite interesting, and if ROAs are expiring, because they do expire. This is an example of alerts that you can get in Slack. And I just want to quickly show you how easy it is to use this. You go on the repository, there is releases on the bottom right. The latest release, 1.33, was released, I think, 3 weeks ago or less. 2 weeks ago, says the screenshot. And at the bottom, there are some files precompiled, otherwise you can run the source code. You just download it, you make it executable, you run it. On the first execution, it will ask you, okay, I don't have any configuration for this, what do you want to monitor? What type of monitoring you want to do, and from that moment on, it will just keep monitoring these resources. The configuration gets saved in a file called prefixes.yamls, where you can add descriptions or whatever you want, or fine-tune your monitoring if you're using BGP Alerter. If you're using Packetvis, of course, there is a UI where you can change all of this. You see all your resources, you can change the details, and you can also use the REST API. You can send reports to files, of course, like logs, to emails, but also to all kind of real-time messaging apps, like Mattermost, WebEx, all sorts of things. This is an example of emails that you can receive from this monitoring tool. Now, an important thing, I receive a lot of questions. Oh, this is really useful. I would like to contribute. How can I peer? So my point of view is that I really don't find, at least for now, any use case for me to create yet another monitoring platform. And I prefer you to just monitor with the public one. In particular, in my opinion, the best one is the one offered by RIPE. In particular, RIPE RIS has more than 1,500. They have been doing this since late 90s, so they are pretty reliable. They know what they are doing. BGP Alerter uses this RIPE RIS. PacketVis uses also route views, but still, after me, there is Leah, and she works, ex-colleague of mine, she works at RIPE NCC, and I guess she will have some words about RIS, but anyway, you can approach her about peering at RIS. So, RPKI deployment. This second part is much more recent, and we found it extremely useful in our operations. So let's talk about some reasoning. NTT started doing route origin validation in 2021, and when we were one of the, let's say, among the first early adopters, and when we did that, of course, we realized that RPKI has it's another layer, and being another layer has some, let's say, knowledge that you have to share with your team, some new practices and policies that you have to put in place. So sometimes I see these webinars where they say, oh, just create the raw and that's all. They are clearly not done probably from people that they operate the networks. There is a bit of complexity extra. And so what I did is and you can see the link at the bottom, I did an analysis of 1 year of our operations. And I checked all the errors that we have been doing. I got authorization. Can I publish all of that? Yeah, that's fine. NTT is pretty open about this. And basically, I realized that we can two big, let's say, categories. The first one is like, oh, I'm not, for now, I'm going to leave RPKI on the side. I just want to announce this prefix. But then did you check that it's going to be unknown? Because if you have a RPKI deployment, at some point you may have ROAS for less specific and your prefix may be invalid. So this concept of I'm not touching RPKI for now, I'm just doing BGP, it's one of the reason, and apparently is not only something that was happening to us. I will show you some data. And the second thing is that at that time I said, okay, look, there are also something that you have to take into consideration, which is timing. RPKI is much slower compared to BGP. So when you do operations, you have to take this into consideration. There is a publication time, which essentially can be immediately or even a day, where it says, okay, if you do a change, this is going to be published, I don't know, in dot minutes. And the other is propagation time, because once you do the change, you have to wait for the other operators to actually see the change and to create, to do a validation. After this, there was much more research done on these topics. There are really some great papers also available today that they explain more in details. This that at that time was just a I would say, overview of it. So now, what I also provided as a value is like, I took all the tickets of RPKI-related errors in NTT, and I did this pie chart where essentially the max length one, which is the case of, I didn't check the ROAS before, now we are announcing something and the max length is not correct. Was actually almost 60% of the cases. So it is the most obvious, it is the most stupid, but it does happen. The other one was 17%, and it was about we are announcing prefixes of a customer, which is pretty common for what we do. And these prefixes were, the customer did not yet create a RAW for our autonomous system, but only for his own. And you may say, okay, this is a problem of the customer. No, not really, because it does show that you can put in place a policy or a procedure to at least inform the customer that he forgot to do that. at least you have to have visibility about that. That's why you need to monitor. And the third case was actually 25% migration of prefixes from one announced by one S to another S. And this is one of the cases where, example, the timing is really important. If you just change the ROA and the announcement, there is a period of time in which other operators will see that switch of origin S as invalid because they didn't yet download the ROAs, did the validation. So, and also at that time I said, okay, let's see what, excluding entity, what other companies have similar problem. Let's focus on the max length, which was the 60%, was the most common. It is actually the most common also if you just analyze ripe risk data. And I discovered that analyzing 1 year of data, that more or less there is a 40% of these RPKI invalids, they get corrected inside 1 day, and the granularity of this is 1 day, so that is good. But then the remaining 60 takes more than 1 day, which probably means no monitoring. And there is a 15% that takes more than an entire month. So clearly, some feedback loop is useful in this case. And this is the type of alerts that you can get. The first alert and the first and the second, they are diff on the ROAs. That allows you to basically see what, essentially what is public. And the last one is an RPKI invalid announcement. Now, as I said, there is a BGP alert as a service. Yes, finally, was requested a lot of time, and for I think now more than 1 year, a couple of years probably, we have a BGP alerter as a service called packetvis.com. It's not an entity product. You can just go and put an autonomous system number. Then it does the configuration for you. There is a dashboard with all the resources, with all the alerts, so all the notification about what is going on in your network. So it's not anymore command line, but you have also the UI. If you're not, if you don't like the dashboard, you can just go with the REST API, where you can also find the BGP updates that actually trigger the alert. There is also, every event has a page where you can see the details, but also there is this interesting thing in red here, which is the actions. Well, basically, you can just say, okay, this is good, and don't tell me anymore about this, or oh, I don't want to hear this, I don't care about this type of monitoring. So you can essentially teach the system what you are interested in, update your configuration easily. And then here is how you can basically set integrations, like you put it on Slack also from this UI. Anyway, this was just a brief. Now the juicy part. So I kind of announced to the PC that I was going to talk about the last 3.5 years since last time that I was supposed to come, about the trust anchor malfunction. I regret that I said that, because when I went to do the entire list, I realized that the list was pretty long and we were going to spend an hour only for that. So I'm going to do just a really quick summary. I will show you a few of them and then give you an overview. So a trust anchor is essentially the top CA of RPKI that is inherently trusted. And and the 5 RIRs are essentially the 5 trust anchors. A VRP is an association between prefix and autonomous system, so we have a bit of lingo. This is the number of VRPs, so the number of prefix and ISN association, let's call it like this, that there are in the 5 registries. And so this already gives an overview of the size of what we are talking. The first trust anchor malfunction, which is not the first in history, but the first that I personally recorded with monitoring tools, and so I have logs, was in 2020, August, where a BGP alerter user, they start reporting to me, oh, look, BGP alert is saying no longer prefixes are no longer covered by ROA. What does it mean? I didn't delete ROAs, and it was not a false positive. Later, the RPKI client team and the RN team, they did an all-nighter and they found an issue which was a software bug. And then I realized that since I personally spent quite some time, and also other members of the entity team, I said it's good to have a feature specifically for trust anchor malfunctions that allows me to just automatically troubleshoot most of this thing and provide me pointers to what is wrong. And that's what I did, and 6 February 2021, the first time that we start using it, that the first information comes. Taiwan NIC ROS disappear, BGP alerter sends alert, and later on they release a report that is about hardware failure. Now, fast forward, a lot of other trust anchor malfunction. 1st of January 2023, this is particularly important because it's repeating for quite some time. 1st of January at 3 a.m., so Happy New Year. Afrinic has a 77% of the ROS in African, they completely disappear, and this was related to a manifest that was referencing ROS not in the repo. And this is a problem because essentially it's what we can refer as not atomic operation. So essentially the manifest refers to ROS that are no longer there or not yet there because the repo is being changed while validators are fetching the data. You can find the link to the event, there's a screenshot, but this thing started happening more and more in a smaller scale. They started with 77%, but the rest of the year we had 23, 25, 22. So at some point, basically, since no fix was coming, we decided let's put a threshold of 50% to try to reduce the noise. I know it's not optimal, but okay. There were also other software patch that involved, for example, the RPKI client to reuse all the manifests. So there was a bit of movement in the community to bypass, let's say, this. But still, again, fast forward, 18th of January 2024, 50.55. So another Afrinic malfunction, exact same type, just slightly above the threshold. And so a lot of users get notified. That day was actually not a good day for RPKI because on the same day, LACNIC has a total malfunction also. We have a first alert that says that, look, 100%, this is suspicious, 100% of LACNIC ROS is going to expire in 2 hours. And then there is a second alert around 2 hours later that, as the first said, the ROS are expiring, they expire, and basically they get removed from the validator's output. And now we have that basically LACNIC has no ROS in the output, and it also was confirmed as a software bug. Now, just last one, even more recent, 11th of February. So a few days ago, this is a partial malfunction. We have the NIC BR, which is under LACNIC, has a gap of 6 hours where manifests are expiring, but they don't get renewed. So there are a lot of users that they start receiving alerts that they say, okay, this 50 ROS are going to expire in the next hour, in the next 2 hours. 90 ROS, we had users, they had a lot of ROS, they were going to expire. A lot of users were, of course, under NIC BR, they were getting this expiration. So it was really suspicious, and I would like to show you one great thing is that you have, you have this part. Here it tells you the ROAS, the list of ROAS they are going to expire. There are 2 columns. One, it tells you which one, the parent component will expire for any reason in the trust chain. And the second column is when your ROA is going to expire. So basically the expiration is the closest one of these 2. But more importantly, it tells you exactly the file, the manifest in this case, that they are expiring. So it just tells you for you what is expiring, but also, well, yeah, it's helpful to have that. And then this is both with PacketVis and with BGP Alert. And then you have, well, with PacketVis, you see these screenshots are because there is the UI. Then there is the second alert, which is essentially the diff, which tells you, oh, now the ROAs are expired, and you see that they red, so they are all removed, and basically the user is notified that they are not there anymore. And finally, 6 hours later, the ROAs are back for basically all the users, and they receive a lot of this green one where ROAs are added. So this is a quick summary to show you also a bit how the tools work and what you can do and why they're useful as a feedback loop. And the trust anchor is also a kind of interesting to understand how this architecture is working. I want to give also a quick overview because this was just a few of 21 events And I don't think I have recorded all of them, so probably are even more. And this is the distribution across trust anchors. So you can see the African LACNIC, they have around 80%. ARIN is actually the most stable, the one with less incident. But also, you see the reasons behind these trust anchor malfunctions. You have that the main reason is essentially atomic operations on the repository, including RIPE had years ago a series of cases like this, where basically users were fetching data, but the repository was in an inconsistent state because there was not finished the operation of writing on it. And they did a great exhaustive report. We, as entity, we reported to them all the logs, we tracked this issue. They did, after a report, they fixed the issue, so really good. The second reason is software bugs with 26%, usually about signing and stuff like this. Then we have hardware failure, and there is also a 10.5%, which is not known, but this non-known would be much greater if we would have used only official reports from the trust anchors, because they often fail in providing technical reports. Sometimes they just give a status update, like there is an issue, we're working on it, now it's fixed. Most of this is coming actually from the community, from the mailing list where people do troubleshooting. And among these names, of course, I have to mention Job Snyder, which did a lot of the troubleshooting in the various mailing lists. So as a quick conclusion for the trust anchor operators, I think there are three takeaways I would like to give. The first one is there are some repeating issues that I think they have to address timely, and it's not possible to have more than 1 year where the same thing happens. It kind of weakens the trust in a framework that is about security. The second thing is there are monitoring solutions like the one that I show you that are already working, so I don't see why not improving on the TA monitoring so that they can monitor themselves. So in addition to what they already run inside, to run something that maybe has been also audited by externals. And the third, possibly the most important, when an incident happens, it's extremely important to provide a technical report after and not just let it go, or just say something in the mailing list that doesn't have any technical conclusion. It's extremely important. It gives more trust in the entire system, and is also something that makes happy the technical community you're serving. So this is it. Since it was just a summary, you can find the entire, it's even a bit of too long articles with all the details about all the trust anchors and everything, numbers and reports in this blog post. And thank you. Thank you for your attention. I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So do you have any questions? Yes, please.
Yes.
Hi, I just want to know when the trust anchor malfunctions, are the networker affected?
Yeah, okay. So when a trust anchor malfunctions, first of all, this is a really good question. There is a possibility that a malfunctioning trust anchor may, especially a partially malfunctioning trust anchor, may, by affecting a part of the ROAS, may affect your visibility. That is a possibility. Another thing is, of course, by trust anchor malfunctioning, the beneficial effect of RPKI, it's vanished in that period because, of course, there are no ROAS available in that thing. And there is also a third factor, which is the human factor, which is essentially, okay, now there is a malfunction. Is it my fault? I mean, I don't see the ROAS. Did we delete any operations? So it would be also important to have this information to know that, oh no, it's a global malfunction. This is maybe a minor of the three cases, but still important.
In the example you just gave, you just gave that TA that can't get, but maybe the router, such as the routinator, they can't get the newest information, but they can keep use the old information.
Okay, yes, but how do they how do they actually know which is new, which is old? They could keep...
They can't get information. Maybe their connection is broken, but they can continue use the information they cached.
Okay, I get what you mean. So you say if a trust anchor malfunctions, okay, there have been patches to software also to do that, to use old manifest and old data to do that, but that's not how it should work. So when a validator runs, the trust anchor should provide what we should, especially if a total trust anchor is the case, maybe you can say, okay, let's use an old snapshot, but this increased complexity and it's distributed complexity across all the operators. That's one thing. The second thing is if a trust anchor is partial, it's like 20%, where do you put the threshold on? It's just something that has been deleted, or it is actually ROAs that they have been revocated for some reason.
But in the example,
Yeah, we have two more.
If you want, we can talk about this offline after. But thank you for your question.
And affiliation, ready? Can you state your name and affiliation, just in case?
My name is Chang Qing'an. I'm from China, Tsinghua University, and I'm very interested in the BGP security research.
Perfect. We can talk later. Great question, by the way.
Thank you very much. So, which one first?
Randy Bush, IIJ Anarchist.
Hey, Randy.
Hey, Massimo, nice to see you. Two things. In all those cases, because of prudent design in the RPKI infrastructure, none of those failures actually caused routing problems because it failed soft, and as she just mentioned, the reasonable caching software uses the old data, so you actually were protected too. The second thing is that, I forget what you called, the software design problem where the publisher was writing on data which are currently being fetched is software engineering 101, and they failed. You create the new data and you move the link.
Yeah, I agree.
These aren't...
Yeah, no, I agree. But apparently, and that issue, which apparently affected multiple TA, they all fixed it on fly except for one, but yeah. Hey, Robert, a lot of
Hey, Massimo.
Familiar faces.
Yes, I'm Robert for the Brighton CC, and I had to come all this way to see you face to face again.
Yeah.
One note and one question. The note is some of the examples that you show were not failures of the trust anchor. They were failures of intermediaries, so somewhere down the chain, which I think just emphasizes that there is value in monitoring all those layers separately, not just from the end users on the client's point of view, but separately to say, Nick BR, you are about to go dark. Please do something. Yeah. That's a message they need to hear, not from their clients, preferably.
No, you're right. And the monitoring is actually happening also on that level. So that's why we catch Nick BR. I think you're right. I should have used a different term. I just said trust anchor for like simplicity, but in the case of Nick BR, it's a CA between the trust anchor and the user.
Yeah, I think we're clear on that. It's just that the monitoring is useful on all those layers.
Yeah.
Okay, so now the question. What you're showing here in RPKI monitoring as well as BGP monitoring is basically the control plane. Like, should there be connection between A and B? But that doesn't mean that packets actually flow between A and B. So do you have plans to introduce data plane monitoring? Like, there are measurements out there which could give you a constant feed of whether A and B are connected or not.
Do you have an idea of any platform that does such a
I have some preferences, but we can talk about the details. But I guess the point is, I would see value in enhancing the monitoring with, like, do packets actually get there?
No, I agree with that. I agree with that. It would be great. It's also an open source, so if also people want to contribute, that would be great. I mean, I'm a
pull request.
Yeah, I am mostly limited by my own bandwidth, I have to say that, but I think it's a great idea. So thank you for...
yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I need to. So last but not least, we have Leah. So she will talk about RIPE and Atlas so that we can minimize our some impact on even we have some incident, right? So you have 30 minutes, and this is a clicker, and receiver is over there.
Yes.
And you have your screen
just
here.
try. Okay. All right. Thank you, Masa-san. Good afternoon, everyone. Sawadika. My name is Lia Estina. I work for the RIPE NCC, and today I'm going to talk to you about how you can utilize RIPE Atlas and RIS in order to minimize impact when incident happen. So let me start with this picture. I know it looks a bit depriving, but I promise you it's not going to be that depriving. So without light, the world outside is pretty dark. As a network operator, imagine your business is like your castle. So everything within your walls, they're kind of predictable. They're kind of within your control, right? Things such as your staff, day-to-day operation, and network management. So all of them are within your control. But what about things outside your walls? They're kind of dynamics and unpredictable. You can imagine things like bad actors, hijackers, for example, unhappy customers, and maybe dragons trying to burn your castle. So in this talk, I'm going to talk to you about how you can minimize the impact by identifying the coping mechanism when incidents happen, or even before incident happen. The first mechanism is, well, what normally happen, like, do you escape when incident happen? Is that what you do, or, you know? But the question, I think, it's not about this, but it's more, what impact will it have on you and on your customer, and how much it will cost you? So the second mechanism is gearing up. This is more defend mechanism. So if you want to succeed, for example, you'll know your customer. You'll know what they need. You know what you can offer them. So you can prepare yourself. It's like going to a business meeting, right? So you want to be armed with something that you can offer to your customer. And then the third one is taking action. This is the interesting one. I'm going to talk to you more each of this action. So let's start with gearing up. So, sorry, in this case, I'm going to use RIPE Atlas and RISK. That's why I'm going to talk just a few points, and then I'm going to talk in more later after this. So the first step, the practical step is strategic deployment for RIPE Atlas. So install RIPE Atlas and RIPE Atlas Anchor in strategic location, and then pair with RISK. And then the second thing is to start continuously monitor the network that are important to you. And then after that, you can start creating alerts for any abnormalities. And also, you can detect, like what Massimo just mentioned just now, you can detect route hijacks. And with the action, having all this data, for example, the measurement results, the data from RIS, you can start taking action more swiftly. So you can identify network issues quite fast. And then with that, of course, you can debug and maintain low latency. So now let's talk about what RIPE Atlas is. How many of you knows RIPE Atlas here? Yeah. So this is not something new. But for those of you who don't know RIPE Atlas, let me just give you a quick introduction of what RIPE Atlas is. RIPE Atlas is a global active measurement platform that consists out of thousands of vantage points. At the moment, we have 12,000 vantage points connected globally. And it's funded by the RIPE NCC members and also sponsors. So what is the goal of RIPE Atlas? The goal of RIPE Atlas is having the view of internet reachability from outside. And that's what makes RIPE Atlas very special. And the probes, they are hosted by volunteers, and we use credit system to make it fair for everyone. The measurement data is made publicly available, so for your benefit. So this is where all our probes located. We have more than 12,000 probes, and as we can see here, the density is more in Europe and also in the North America, yes, North America. And that's why I'm here. We would like to work with the community here and deploy more probes in Asia Pacific. So we will be here the whole week. There's also Robert here. So let's have a look at how you can access RIPE Atlas. You can access RIPE Atlas quite easy. There's the graphic user interface, there's the API, and also the CLI tool. And then what types of measurement you can run with RIPE Atlas? There are 6 types of measurement: ping, traceroute, DNS, NTP, SSL TLS, and last but not least, we allow you to run measurement towards the anchor, HTTP measurement, what I mean. So let's talk about security and privacy, because it's quite important. Wherever we go, whenever we start introducing RIPE Atlas and ask people, hey, can you host this probe in your network? People always kind of have some kind of distrust. Let's talk about it. The probe is from trusted material. It has regular address, and there's no open port. So, and it can initiate the connection. You can put it behind NAT. It doesn't listen to local traffic, so there's no snooping. And what about the measurement? The measurement is an active measurement. And then it creates SSH connection from probe to the server. So it will never reach from the user to the probe itself. And then, yes, this is what it said. The code of the measurement is publicly available. All right, and a few years ago, we have the software probes in production. So the hardware probe is obviously, it's a plug and play, it's quite easy. And the software probes, sometimes people install the software probes in computers. That's why when the computer is closed, then it's not online anymore. And then the uptime, it's 24/7 for the hardware probes. And like I said, when it's in the software probe, when it's installed in computer, then yeah, it's not 24/7 anymore, right? And the measurements and the features is exactly the same. And now let's talk about RIS. So first, you install probes strategically, and now let's talk about RIS. So what is RIS? RIS is a routing data collection platform, and like Massimo said, we've been collecting BGP data since 1999, and unlike the routing database, unlike the information from database or the routing registries, RIS is more up-to-date information. So it shows what is currently being announced and which prefixes are being announced and where, and which prefixes are not seen. So we have 23 collectors. We would like to thank our community who hosts these collectors. Okay, the data of the global peers, it's a bit outdated because we have more peers right now. We have more than 1,500 peers. And how can RIS help network operators? We have what we call RIS Live. This is the tool from RIPE NCC, and that's also the tool that Massimo was mentioning just now. And this is what's cool with RIS data. People and the community, the active community, they're developing this cool tool to be able to set an alert on the prefix that you want to monitor. So let me give you an example. This is a use case that I like to use because it's quite relatable and it's easy for me to understand. So let's meet Kunang. Kunang worked for an online gaming company and they run their own LAN. And as you know, with gaming company, you have users all over the world. And not only that, these users, they are connected in many networks and they have some problems because he noticed that some of these gamers, they experience high latency. And that's why, so Kunang used RIPE Atlas already. This is how you can adopt this coping mechanism, the gearing up. So first you strategically deploy RIPE Atlas or RIPE Atlas software in the networks where we don't have probes yet. This is an example of the networks in Thailand that we still want to have probes, the one listed here. So, okay, ideally we would love to have like 3 probes in top eyeball networks. These are the top eyeball networks. There are more ASN, of course, in Thailand, but if I put everything here, then you will not be able to read it. That's why I just put the top 10 ASN. If you are the holder of these ASNs and interested in hosting probe or peering with RIS, talk to me. I'm here until the end of the week. And these are the ASN holder name. And if you want to see your economy, this is only showing Thailand. You can also see your economy by going to this QR code, and you can just adjust the country code and see which network were still open for probe deployment. So, just like the RIPE Atlas, we would like to have more peers. We don't have peer, we want you to peer with RIS. We don't have peer in Thailand. That's why it would be nice if we can have one peer at least one peer from Thailand. And this is the information of for the peering. We have the peering coordinators that are listed here. You can just send email to ris-peering@ripe.net. All right, now you have the probes in place. This is what Kunang did. He has the probes in place installed, and he has all these vantage points at his disposal, right? So now he can start running measurement. And the first measurement that he did, he was able to spot the latency, which are here. The first result was really high. It was more than 200 milliseconds. So you can imagine if you're a gamer and the latency is more than 200 milliseconds, probably you'll go crazy. So here you see in which ASN are these probes located. But the nice thing with RIPE Atlas, you will not only see the ASN where they are located of the probes and the countries, you'll also see the path it's taking from one point to the other. So you'll be able to see where the bottleneck is, if there's any. And then, of course, you can talk to your peers or your upstream provider, whoever it is that can help you improve the latency. So in this case, there was asymmetric route that he found. So this is the second measurement using the same probes, and the result of the measurement is like amazing. From more than 200 milliseconds to 3 or 4 milliseconds. So this is the example of what you can do with RIPE Atlas. So we have two steps that you can do, and then the third one, based on that, you can set up alerts for any anomaly. For example, this is a ready tool. This was created by Massimo as well, I think. Latency one, yes. And then you can use the BGP alerter, of course, to alert you if there's any unexpected announcement from the prefix that you want to monitor. All right. Now you have all of those things. You are well prepared. You have the data. You are alerted. What can you do now? You are able to identify any issues swiftly. And then you can make sure that the latency is low. And the last but not least, this is the most important. You want to showcase this and show to your customer how good your performance, your network performance is. So what does it mean for your clients, for your customer? It means that the performance is improved, the shorter path is selected, better latency, more reliability. And then what does it mean for you? For you, you have more control and flexibility. What I mean with flexibility is that with RIPE Atlas, there's no money involved, right? So you host the probe, you get credits, and with this credits, you can run measurement. So there's no breaking a bank in this case. Repeat the test as much as you need. And what does it mean for your staff? We heard from people that service desks love RIPE Atlas because even if you don't have any technical background, the graphic user interface is quite easy to use. So when people come and call and complain, they can just use the graphic user interface and run the measurement and validate their findings. So let's have a look at quickly in what we see in Thailand and in Southeast Asia. At the moment, we have the runner-up is actually Singapore. We have more than 120 probes in Singapore. And yeah, that's why I'm here. We would love to have more deployment in any of these economies where we still have not that many probes. So last year we did engagement in the Philippines with the support of PHNOC and APNIC. It was quite successful because now we cover the top 10 of the network within the Philippines. So we would love to have the same in Thailand. This is the measurement that you can see. So as I mentioned, the measurement result is made publicly available without the private information, of course. And if we look at the number of measurements that use at least one probe in Thailand, there were more than 630,000 user-defined measurements from last year, and half of them were created by IPMap. So with this number, we have a bit of idea that people are using it. People are finding it useful. Of course, we have to go into their use case, but people are using it. So at the RIPE NCC, we have all this data, right? We have this thing that we can use, and we want to make it more useful for you. We create prototypes. We talk to the community and listen to them, and we want to know how we can pack this data that we have so that it can be more useful for you for your use case. So this is one of them. This is MinRTT. So this is showing how RIPE Atlas sees your network. For example, this is you can put here IX. In this case, it's IX225, or you can also put your ASN here, and then you will be able to see how RIPE Atlas sees your network. And in this case, okay, let me just go back quickly. We can see that this IX is located in Thailand because all the dots around Thailand, it's green, so the latency is low. So you can try this as well. The link is available there. But this is a prototype, so there is still improvement to make. If you have any ideas to what you want to see, how it can be more useful for you, talk to us. We're happy to listen. And then if you click on one of the dots, you will be able to see from a different point of view. So this is the point of view from the probe. On the bottom, we see all the networks that are in the neighborhood of this probe. So if you are, for example, the owner of this probe, and all the ones which are on the right that has more than 100 millisecond latency, this network might be important to you. This might be something that's surprising, or maybe it's not. So yeah, you can try this by going to this QR code. This is another example of the prototype that we have. So in this picture, we see the path between the ASN within a country, and in this case, it's Thailand. So all the cells here, we have now green and light green. So it's kind of okay because in this case, we see that the path is not going outside the country. It might be interesting, or maybe you don't want it, if the cell were dark brown, because despite of the fact that there is an IXP found between these two ASN, the path is still going outside the country. So these are one of the prototypes that we have at RIPE NCC, where we work to pack or to develop a tool so that it's more useful for network operators. All right, now I'm at the end of my presentation. Let me give you more reason to love RIPE Atlas. So we have more than 12,000 fan touch points connected globally, and they're ready at your disposal. Go to atlas.ripe.net and create an account. RIPE Atlas is from a trusted source. Why I say that? Because RIPE NCC is a not-for-profit organization, and the volunteers, the probe hosts, they are all, well, not all, mostly end users. And it's safe and secure because we do regular third-party security review, and this report, we share it with the public. So you can see all the reports from all the review that we did in the past. The measurement result is open for everyone. It's for your benefit. You can reuse this measurement result. People are using it to monitor their network or to do some research. It's community-driven. So it's from the community and RIPE NCC for the community. We're here to better serve the global internet community. And the last but not least, this is the one that you like. There's no monetary involved with RIPE Atlas usage. It's a fair use, and unless if you want to support the project financially and sponsor RIPE Atlas, we are open for that, of course, because with the funding, we can keep on distributing the probes free of charge, and we can increase the diversity of the network and also the deployment so that it's balanced everywhere. Okay, I've heard it so many times from people, so I dare to put it as the best internet measurement platform. So what do you do now? If you haven't got one, please create an SSO account, a RIPE NCC SSO account, and install RIPE Atlas. This is the first step. Install RIPE Atlas strategically in location where there's still no probe. Eyeball network is our target right now. Top 10 eyeball network. Peer with risk. And start testing, start monitoring your network. This is the basic thing that you can do. And start minimizing any impact before even incident occur, before even your customer notice. If you got a disconnected probe, please reconnect it. And as our thanks to the community, we would like to give you this voucher so that you can start playing with RIPE Atlas platform already. So you can use this link and redeem Sawadee24. All right, tell us what you think. We are here the whole week. If you have any question, we have my colleague Robert Kistalaki, who is here. And he's like the most responsible for RIPE Atlas, and he can answer any of the technical question. Thank you for the time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So do you have any questions, suggestions, or need some redeem page again? Because you need to take photo.
For
to redeem some credit from the?
so Savadi 24, and just go to the link on RIPE Atlas.
Oh,
It's all the way to the back. Yes.
yep.
So we're here the whole week. Come and talk to us during the break or lunch. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So I have some housekeeping note. We have a lightning talk session on this Friday. Submission is still open. So if you have any idea or some small technical talk to share with this great community, you can submit on the applicant website. So lightning talk is like a 5 minutes talk, so quite a short talk. So just submit your idea and slide to the lightning talk session, and our PC will select one of the best talk will be selected by the PC members. So thank you very much. And after this, we have opening social. Yes, it's in the ground floor. Is it in this floor or second floor? Okay, it's in the second floor, starting 8:30? Okay, almost. 18:30, okay, yeah, sorry. So basically in 30 minutes we have a social tonight. So please join and enjoy the rest of the week. Thank you very much.